So we're here today with Silas J. Lees at WiggyWam, and he's got some exciting things happening there. And we wanted to just find out more about what it is you're doing there, Silas. So I was actually really curious as to how WiggyWam even got started. Could you tell us a little bit, why and how?
For sure. Yeah, thank you, Tina. So based on my background of being in a estate agency and then trained to become a surveyor and also a property investor, the biggest thing I noticed with being a property investor, you could get deals done literally within days or weeks. So you decide you're going to go and buy a house, you put it into solicitors' hands, you pay a little bit more money, but you can probably get the sale to exchange of contracts within 2 or 3 weeks. I also bought a lot of properties at auction, and the auction process was sweet because you would just go to the auction, raise your hand, bid on the property, the fall of the hammer, you've exchanged contracts. So there's none of this kind of messing about, waiting for information to come back and forwards. You are buying that property on that night. So if there's any problems, yeah, you're kind of liable for it. But on the flip side, the speed of the transaction is so much faster. And I'm sitting there going, well, why do properties at auction, or why do they sell so much quicker than private treaty sales? And my view is, well, they've got a lot more upfront information. All of that information is available for you to review prior to actually putting a bid in for the property. That to me is absolutely crucial. Then you've got the opportunity to get the property surveyed before the auction. That to me is absolutely
amazing,
paramount importance of what people need when it comes to selling the house. But when it comes to selling by a private treaty, none of that information is available. And if you think about the parallel, like you're going to go and buy a new car, so you go to the car forecourt and you say, I really like that car. And they go, actually, do you know what? We're actually just sending that one away for, to have some checks done on it to make sure that the, servicing's been done, etc. But it'll be available in a couple of weeks. You go, well, why the bloody hell hasn't it been done sooner? And yet when it comes to the most expensive asset that we're ever going to buy, there's no transparency, there's no upfront information. Nobody really knows what's going on. And I just think this is crazy. So I just said, well, somebody needs to do something about that. And that's kind of how we got involved in doing it,
And that's how WiggyWam started then.
That's the basic précis as to why we decided to set up WiggyWam and solve these problems of fast-tracking deals through to completion and more upfront transparency and information around the properties that were being sold.
Wow.
And I got a question about that. How do you find this affects estate agents who for example, use private treaties to sell properties or other methods using WiggyWam? How do you find it affects them?
You see, there's initially, I think, quite a lot of resistance. And the reason for that is because the state of the conveyancing process in the UK has been so drawn out now. And we've gone from what was 6 to 8 weeks to exchange of contracts when I first started in the estate agency back in the 90s. And now we're at during the height of the pandemic, we're 26 weeks to exchange of contracts. That was the average, so some was taking a lot longer to actually go through. And for estate agents, I think there's initially, when you say we can do this quicker, there's a lot of resistance. And I think that comes from a lot of marketing promises that are being made right now to people. But, my view is, well, if you've done 80% of the conveyancer's job before the house has even gone up for sale, then surely you can just leave the conveyancers to do their bit and do their work and get it done faster. The other thing that we find is a major problem, conveyancers get on average 7 phone calls per week per case file. And if you've got 60, 70 case files on the go, you're talking 400 phone calls per week before you've even done any conveyancing work. So a large part of our platform is to strip all of that superfluous work away from the conveyancers so that they can actually get on and just do the conveyancing work.
So you're making estate agents and conveyancers and everyone working on the deal more effective so that it just goes through faster.
Yeah, because it works for everybody's interest, right? So estate agents want to deliver the very best service that they can for their clients. They want to get the best price in the shortest possible time frame.
Yeah.
And for selfishly, for everybody who's in business, the faster that transaction goes through, the faster everybody gets paid. It's as simple as that. The conveyancer gets paid, the estate agent gets paid, the client moves home and has certainty, compared to the other side of the coin where they will sit waiting for weeks or months for their deal to go through, spending all this money out on mortgage fees, valuation fees, survey fees, God knows what else, and then the deal falls through. I mean, they can be out of pocket for £2,000-3,000 or more,
and then lose the actual fee.
Lose everything. Yeah, it's
exactly right. So the homeowner's lost, the estate agent's lost, the conveyancer's lost, and I'm like, this is madness. Like, why are we still doing things the old way? And I think it's, there's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome there for sure, but the new way of doing things, the modern way as we call it, through, or the WiggyWam way as we're now coining it, it has benefits for everybody. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to get involved in that?
It makes no sense not to. I mean, I've experienced myself with 2 of our properties, went on the market last year, and both of them fell through, cost us thousands of pounds. It was an...
It's not like you get paid for it.
No, you don't. And it causes so much stress and headache, and, and everybody involved, it causes stress and headaches. It's not just you talk to conveyancers, they're unhappy, you talk to the estate agent, they're unhappy, you're unhappy, you want to know what's going on. A lot of times they don't know what's going on either, so they don't want to speak to you. I mean, my second one fell through and I got a text message. It was that bad. And, it was all a bit peculiar, to be honest, And
let's dive into that a little bit.
On earth? What's all that about,
It's crazy. And this is the bit that I think gets massively overlooked. So with the greatest respect in the world, estate agents and conveyancers are in this day in, day out. They know what's involved, okay? But from a client's point of view, a buyer or a seller, they might not have done this in 20 years. And so they're very anxious. They're very emotional. They don't really know what's going on. And the unfortunate part about it, in the way things are structured at the moment, is that nobody's actually telling them. There's no transparency. So a large part of what we try to do is to create educational pieces, either videos or books, that will actually guide people through the process and remove that uncertainty. Because when a client is in a high stress state, when they're very emotional, when they're about to lose the home of their dreams, when they're about to lose £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 because the deal's fallen through, they get very anxious and emotional, and then that emotion erupts to the very people that are trying to help them in the house, which is why estate agents and conveyancers end up getting it in the neck. It's not necessarily their fault, but this is the psychology of what's going on in the background. And unless you remove that from the process, conveyancers and estate agents are constantly going to get battered by their clients, even if it's not their fault.
So there's another layer.
It can't be nice at all, having to be that. Can you imagine how you'd feel as an estate agent, knowing that none of it is your fault?
I didn't realise there was a layer of depth to it. Not only the fact that obviously everyone's losing money and time, but obviously if the estate agent gets the flack for their property sale falling through, what's going to happen to a possible source of recommendations, possible good review again?
Wow.
Well, like if properties sell well, there's capacity for a video testimonial, which in our marketing world, video testimonials are one of the best things you can have, because that perfectly shows people a good experience that they've had, which is what people are looking for more and more. But
we know that people tend to share their negatives rather than their positives. And, if someone in town has had a bad experience of your estate agency,
they might just share it.
Well, they're not just going to might. I'm sorry, Dan, they will. Yeah. I've experienced people and that's what people do. Well, especially on Selly, where I grew up, you know more about the bad than the good. I'm sorry.
It's so true, and this is a really important point. And a lot of conveyancers and estate agents wonder why they don't win repeat business from their clients. And even if they've delivered customer excellence from the word go, they're still going to get let down by other parts of the process not being right. And when you put that client through that mill of emotional uncertainty, they're not going to recommend you to their friends and family. They're really not going to give you repeat business. They're not going to come back to you for writing their will, their updated will, or anything else that they need. It's just, you've got to talk to people who've moved home in the last 3 years. And I have yet to find somebody who says it was a great experience, and I would definitely go back to the solicitor and the estate agents.
Yeah, well, I know one estate agent who that happens for.
Right.
But they're in Scotland, so that's part of it. But
does Scotland have it easy, Silas?
Yeah, we're actually quite curious about this.
I believe so, and a lot of it is fixed around this idea, I believe, of the home valuation report, or whatever label they give it. But effectively, the price of the property is fixed. Okay, and so you haven't got this whole idea that we have in England and Wales, which is an estate agent can go in, or an unscrupulous estate agent can go in and overvalue the property in order to try and win the business. And there's also a lot more information up front within the home selling process within Scotland, and also you have estate agents and conveyancers under the same roof a lot of the time within the Scottish market. So I think they have a much easier ride than we do. But again, all of these problems could have been solved, and they haven't been. And I'm really not knocking estate agents. I'm really not knocking conveyancers. We're here to help both sides of the coin.
Yeah, it's a process, isn't it? And I think you've got a good point about the communication with the customer as well. And if you could get everything prepared up front, so you don't have that middle bit where, because like ours, it was due to certain surveys that they couldn't find certain issues or something, points or something.
Right.
And that's why ours fell through in the end, just so they couldn't find certain information. Imagine if all that information would be gathered up front and that buyer went, okay, well, I'm not going to buy because this little bit of information here. Then we were just going to find a different buyer, rather than waiting 6 months to hear it, which is that.
Yeah, this is a real challenge, because I've bought and sold a lot of properties without boasting, and it's, you come to sell a property and you're all really excited and you're like, yeah, okay, get this one done. You found your buyer, send it through to the solicitor, and then the solicitor will send you a stack of information like this and say, fill out all these forms, and by the way, if you get it wrong, you're going to jail. Okay, so I'm not going to procrastinate over that task, am I? Do you know what I mean? That's going to get put off for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Instantly, you've got delay, and I'm thinking, so at the point when somebody's putting their house up for sale, when they're excited about the moving prospects and everything else, why isn't it done right at that very point in time? We need all this information. We need to know your fence certificate, we need your gas safety, we need your EPC, we need your electrical certificate, whatever else it is that you've had done, planning permission, underpinning, insurance claims, whatever. Let's have it together in a file. Oh, I don't have that information. Okay, well, now we can take steps to recover that information if it's available, or put an indemnity policy in place that covers you when that information isn't available. All done, all up front, all there for somebody to see. Let's go.
That just makes so much sense, though. I thought, I drive him nuts because I like to pre-plan everything. Yeah, drives you crazy. It drives my whole family crazy. But I always like to foresee what could happen and then be prepared for that. And this, to me, just makes so much sense. If you've got everything up front before you even start, you've got less chance of anything going wrong. Sorry.
Exactly.
Things will just move quickly.
I agree with you pre-planning things, and my issue is when you pre-plan the wrong things.
Oh, sorry. In that case, I do beg your pardon.
But we need to communicate better about that.
Look, I'm a last minute kind of person. I don't necessarily, because I know things change all the time. But when you're going through the process of home selling, there's a very good chance that 95% of everything that you're collating at the start of the journey is what's going to be asked for. So why not do it upfront?
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're thinking of selling, just do it, get everything ready.
That's actually one of the selling points of the best estate agents in the UK. The fact that they will, I've spoken to a couple of estate agents about this, they will literally help people filling out these forms that might mean jail sentences or even the threat of jail sentences.
It puts their minds at ease.
That puts people's minds at ease.
If someone says, if an estate agent says, look, don't worry about any of this, I'm going to come sit with you in your house, we'll go through this together. Can you imagine the amount of stress that's then relieved from that person?
So you're saying WiggyWam does this in an even easier way?
Yeah, so I mean, there's various different ways that this can be done, but from our point of view, we try to make this as easy as possible. So, for example, we have for the legal form filling bit, we have an app that people can access. They can go through the app, they can fill out all the forms on their tablet, on their smartphone, on their computer. Do it in the comfort of their own home. And I've even prepared videos that walk people through what each of the questions mean. And the reason I've done that is because, after 25, 26 years in the business, I'll still see a question and go, what on earth do they mean by that?
Yes.
It'll be some obscure conveyancing term from 1800 and something or other. And you think, okay, why is this relevant? Why has this not been updated?
Yes.
You've got to give an answer, right? So it's about going through that with a little bit of humour, make it light, but also to give them the facts of what they need to produce. Now, some solicitors that we're working with, and I'm not going to say this is all because it's really not, but some solicitors that we're working with will actually go and sit down with the clients face to face and do this with them, which is just next level service. And my view for anybody watching this who's a buyer or a seller, it has to be, you've got to pay your team well. There's a whole backwards thinking process of pay your estate agent low fees, pay your solicitor low fees, save as much money as possible through the home moving process. It's a complete fallacy. In fact, it's far more expensive, in my view, to try and do that than to pay them well to achieve the best price for your home, to get this done as fast as possible so that you're not facing thousands of pounds of lost cost. And of course, everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them. But
it's gonna. And the other thing is, like, if you've like prepared everything up front and stuff, and you move through fast, especially if you've got a mortgage right now, because a lot of people have.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there waiting, you're paying extra costs while you're waiting, especially if you're downsizing or you're maybe even leaving the country or something. You know, it's just costing you money. So you need to look at the whole picture, I always think. And if, you know, that's something that I feel that estate agents could get good at, is actually getting all those numbers together, like almost like a spreadsheet for people to actually understand that if you pay the solicitor a little bit more, if you pay the estate agent a little bit more, then you're actually going to save this amount of money, and you're going to make money because you're going to get a better value, because obviously the quicker you sell your house, the more chance you have of getting the best price for it anyway. Well, I don't need to tell you these things, guys. You know these already, but, you know, it has a knock-on effect. It all really, really does. The longer your house on the market, the bigger chance you have like getting less for it.
Or not selling.
And your overheads are incredible, and you might lose out anyway because it might just, you know, go if you buy it.
You're absolutely right. There's one thing I want to just pick up on there, and this is the way that or the nature of the way that the game has changed now for estate agents. And I have a lot of sympathy with them, because some sellers are highly unrealistic, and they'll say, "Oh, my house is worth way more. You know, the one down the road sold, you know, for 500,000, and yes, mine's got an extra bedroom, so it's worth £1 million, right?" And you think, oh, okay. But yeah, you have to, as an estate agent now, you have to let your low fee competitors pick up those types of instructions. Okay, let them go, because chances are they're not going to sell. They're going to spend a fortune in advertising and marketing that property, and they're going to end up with a frustrated client and out of pocket. Yeah. This is the time to hyper focus on the clients that need to sell, want to sell at a realistic price, and are more importantly prepared to pay for the privilege of working with you. And that's exactly what, you know, that we kind of teach within the WiggyWam ecosystem, on how to help position estate agents at that sort of category of one level, so that they can get the best results for their clients and be paid well for it.
Especially for an independent estate agent, because it's not just take on a property, put it on the portals. Taking on a property means months of weeks of working. Well, it is months of working through to completion, of working with this person and their property and their emotions, and like the conditions of that property, and finding the right buyers. And it's not just as simple as, oh, I'm going to take on this listing and understand at the end of the process.
Yeah, it really isn't simple. There's quite a lot of people going to estate agents in the last few years thought it was going to be simple.
Sellers won't see that.
No.
So they're not going to see that, because they don't work in property. They work wherever they work. They have their own life.
Thing is, though, if you were doing video stuff right now, yeah, and showing people exactly what it was you did and the reason why you did it, you could actually educate your homeowners in your area, and they'll understand why it is you're charging that fee.
100%. No, I believe there's two ways to approach this, and it is around that same subject of content. And this is why we believe in, you know, teaching estate agents how to put their own book together, because my view is, do the work once, get paid forever. So by the time you put all the thought into writing the book and whatever you're going to teach them, for an estate agent, that allows them to share more of their knowledge and experience with them, and how they can help them in a way that they're not going to get opportunities to do so during, you know, a 30-minute or 60-minute valuation appointment. Then they can take all of what they put within that book and convert it all into video content. Really valuable. They put the thought into it. They've done the exercise once. Just share the stories organically on, you know, through video content. And you're absolutely right. Educate the clients in formats that they want to consume themselves.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant idea. Yeah, just one question about your book. Yeah, do you, as an estate agent, would you give that book at a valuation meeting? How would you use your book?
So personally, I would be very tempted to do that. Yes, and it would be on the basis that, look, for a book, this is probably a bit thick to be honest with you, but for an estate agent, if they were to produce a book kind of like this sort of thickness, not particularly thick, something like that, right, then that was going to cost you to have it printed and shipped to you less than £5. Okay. Wow. Now imagine taking that to your valuation appointment and sitting down with a client and saying, by the way, this is a book that I've actually produced to help home buyers and sellers get the most value that they can from selling their property, right? It's got about 150 pages of 25 years plus of my knowledge and experience. And the last client that used this book actually saved £40,000 on the sale of their, on the purchase of their next home. Okay, so I'll give you that with my compliments. Take a read at that, some good bedtime reading, ha, 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 ha. Okay, you have that experience with the seller, right? Now, 3 estate agents have gone in to see that seller on that same day. Who are they going to remember?
The one whose book is on their bedside table.
Exactly right. So it's on their bedside table, it's on their coffee table, whatever it is. And that book, okay, I don't know about you guys, but I receive a lot of junk mail, right? And it gets filed immediately in the bin. If somebody hands me a book, I'm never throwing that away.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
don't throw it away. You don't use it as a fire starter.
Yeah. It's going to sit on my shelf until it comes in handy. I'm going to give it to a friend, okay? Or if I'm really done with it, it goes to the charity shop.
Exactly that. Okay. Exactly that.
It
gets spread around.
It marches for you under your name and shares the information you would on the valuation.
And your name is on that book wherever you go.
It's almost a parallel to how we do videos, almost. Like
just
you're like, we'll talk about this later, but having a book is a very physical thing, something you won't get rid of. Whereas video, you reach more people like in a faster, and they actually get to meet you as they would if they were to meet you in real life. So
also
so much parallels.
Yeah, respect and authority as well, because like not many people can sit down. Okay, more people say these days, I've written a book. Okay, there are more, but there aren't that many still. If you think about the majority of the population, who's going to sit down and write a book?
100%. And if you're one of 6, 7, 8 estate agents in a town, I can guarantee not one of them will have sat down and written a book. So if you're that first person, I just can't imagine you're not going to be winning virtually every instruction that you're going to, providing that the sellers want to price it realistically. Just to pick up on that video comment that you mentioned, so I spoke with an estate agent who's doing a lot of video content. He's all over TikTok. He's doing really, really well.
Nice.
And the way he positioned it is, if people like, Martin Roberts or Phil Spencer turned up at your home as an estate agent to sell your house, it doesn't matter what fee that they say they're going to charge. Yeah, you can go, okay, sell my house, because they've been all over the TV, everywhere, right? Of course you would, because you and why? Because you've never met Phil Spencer, or you've never met Martin Roberts, for example, but they carry so much kudos with them because they've been all over the TV, right? Yes. And so following your example with the videos, putting more and more content out there online is really going to help to extract more sort of value from the services that you're offering, but also bring that audience together in a way that positions you as that authority.
It just makes such a huge difference, and no one really realizes that until they start doing it, and then they start coming across the effects of that, and they're like going, oh yeah, I see what you mean now. It's so interesting to watch
So we talked a lot about how estate agents can actually win more instructions, as opposed to speeding up the process of actually getting a house to completion. Do you actually have this in WiggyWam as well?
Absolutely. So all the team that you'll need, the solicitors, as well as the transparency element in terms of the educational pieces, the videos, and the platform to help the sale through to completion, is all there available for any estate agent that wants to join us. But I'll be honest with you, we only want to work with forward-thinking estate agents that see that the market has changed, that they need to do something different. They are open to learning, they are open to a different way of doing things. Then all day long you will get 1,000% support from me, because those are the people that we want within the WiggyWam tribe, within the sort of community that we're building, because we are going to fundamentally change the way houses are bought and sold forever.
That's exciting. So if anybody wants to get in contact with you about any of this,
how could they reach you?
How do they get hold of you?
So email happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. That's happytohelp@wiggywam.co.uk. They can get in touch with us on Facebook, I think Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and our handle is at WiggyWam_UK. So at WiggyWam_UK.
Links in with this post.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay, so we'll drop some links in with the post as well. It was so good to meet up with you today. What you're doing is incredible. I think you're going to have to come back on and tell us about your book writing thing though as well, if that's okay. You've got time.
I'm sorry, we're going to have you back. You're going to talk to us about your academy. You're going to talk to us about your challenges, your books, and you've got
time. If you've got
time. I'd love to, guys. I think, you know, for us, it's all about sharing as much value as we can with people, and I think a lot of people right now are jaded because we've had COVID, we've had Brexit, we've had cost of living crisis, we've had God knows what else, and we've got all these marketing messages that are promising the earth and not delivering. And our view is, let's give you 1,000% value, and you go out and use that value and see what results you're getting, because I guarantee it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And I'm trying to say that as humbly as possible, but some of the results that I'm seeing people get with this is just mind blowing right now.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. Bring in some reality to this. What we want to do is share the how, where most people are hiding it, and then when people want help implementing it, they come to us. Yeah, that's and we'll show you what to do, guys. Yeah, and that goes for Silas as well, I think. Okay,
thank you.